Going to be a very interesting day because we have some hot news to cover. Oh yeah, I see the Facebook, the YouTube chat showing up on the restream. So this is fantastic. Now I there we go. Now I can go back to this window. All right, there we go. So okay, YouTube here. Test from Africa. I can hear you. I don't know. You probably know it's Armin's all the way down. Okay, great, awesome. So we're getting Facebook. You getting anything? Do you see anything on Facebook? Yes. All right, good. So how come this is not showing up on my YouTube? Never mind. It's fine.
I don't know. Oh, I see Tammy's here. Hi, Tammy.
All right, so
Great.
the Facebook event that I scheduled is not working, but the Facebook live page is fine. So I don't know. Maybe I should never schedule an event on YouTube like that again, because when you use Restream, it doesn't go to that event that you scheduled. It just goes on the Stream Now page. Anyways, we're learning as we go. Sorry, guys. If you have any feedback on these things, let us know. But everybody's here. All right. So, Ali, what's the first news that we're covering? Which
All right, our first news story is what I think everybody has been consuming over the last 2 days. It's Lawrence Krauss and how he's facing allegations of sexual misconduct against multiple women. So BuzzFeed News broke the news, and of course they've been getting a lot of fake news accusations because they're BuzzFeed. Which I would want to remind everyone, they were the first people to break Kevin Spacey's sexual misconduct allegations, which turned out to be true. So just because it's BuzzFeed doesn't necessarily mean it's fake news. But we do want to discuss what's in their story. So reading along, this was a very, very, very long article. There's so many things to discuss in here and pinpoint. They talk about the skeptic community as a whole, and they also discuss different incidents of what Lawrence Krauss allegedly did that wound him up here. Armin, do you want to say anything about it before you jump in?
no, jump in. I'll go after you. This is gonna be a very
Okay.
controversial.
Yeah. So I have always been quiet personally about sexual misconduct allegations against anyone because I don't really know anyone who's involved in them publicly, right? So when our politicians or when our actors are accused of sexual misconduct, the Me Too movement did bring out a lot of accusations, and a lot of people did admit to them. Some people did not. But we found ourselves at a crossroads there where people were being accused, denying their accusation, and they were still being publicly villainized anyway. The stance I've always taken on these, and the stance that I'm also taking here in this Lawrence Krauss allegation, is that I don't know either parties. That I don't know the accusers, and I don't know Lawrence Krauss on a personal level. So when I read these allegations and when I'm reading through what BuzzFeed is telling us here, I see two people who are being named as victims of Lawrence Krauss, and I see a lot of anonymous people. And I see that when we do give names to people who are being victimized by him, I'm still not sure, according to the story she gave and the story he gave, if this is really sexual misconduct. So, you know, I'm
What was the story that she gave?
skeptical.
What was the
Well,
story that she?
the first story that they point out is when he invited Melody Hensley, for example. She actually volunteered with the Center for Inquiry, who I've done
Used
some
to,
work
right?
with as
Used to,
well.
not anymore.
Yeah, she used to, not anymore. That's correct.
She was
That
involved
was
in
back
a
in
lot of other
2006.
controversial stuff before as well.
So this was 12 years ago
Right.
when this happened. So Krauss asked Henley for her card to her room, and she said that no, but she would go to dinner with him. So she knew that he was flirting with her, and she said that she just wanted to be around somebody important. So she thought she could handle herself. They made a plan to eat at a restaurant where Krauss was staying, and he asked her up to his room. So they go up to the room. He makes a comment about her eye makeup. He gets close to her face, and then he throws her on the bed and starts making out with her. When he goes to get a condom, Hensley says, I have to go. She didn't want to be there, and she left, and that was that. So according to Krauss, what happened was completely mutual. They had a polite discussion in the room, and they both decided taking it any further would not be appropriate. So Krauss completely denies the claim that was made. And I don't know Hensley, and I don't know Krauss. And I understand that right now it's very popular to always believe somebody when they come forward, but I can't do that. I'm not going to call them a liar with no evidence. Certainly, one or the other or both could be liars. I don't know, but I'm definitely not taking that side. What I'm saying here is that I don't know. We've been presented with two stories, and I don't know which one is true. And this one was actually, in my opinion, the most serious of the allegations that he's been accused of.
So there were more, though. There were a whole bunch of more accusations in the article, right? So it wasn't just one.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's correct. So the article goes on to describe how there's a network of women who warn other women not to go near Krauss at events. So, there's apparently some underground whispers. I don't know. And there's also a story. It goes on to say how Lawrence Krauss was touching a woman's leg, and she asked him to stop, or she moved away from the situation, and he kept trying to do it. So there's been a few other allegations. I think that the Hensley allegation is definitely the most serious and pressing of the ones that came forward. But yeah, there's a lot of women accusing him.
Okay, so here's a counter argument to your points, right? A lot of people are saying, how could you not believe all these women? There's too many accusations. There's over many years, and now we are defending a guy just because he's a guy that is a prominent person that a lot of people see as a role model, as a lot of people respect in the atheist community, and we don't have the same standards for other people, like when women accuse Trump, or when that was like Tariq Ramadan, or when they accuse Linda Sarsour, or when the people accuse priests of molesting children. We don't go out, the atheist community, we just share those articles and we're like, of course this happened, and we just believe the woman. But now all of a sudden, when it comes to one of the people within the skeptic or atheist community, we are now saying that, hold on a second, we should be more skeptical. Is there a double standard here? Are we like being tribal, like people in the group, we demand more skepticism, or are we demanding more? Are we harder to convince when people in our community are being accused and people outside of our community?
And absolutely, we do have that bias. People by nature tend to idolize other people. So I understand that, here we are saying we demand proof, where in other instances, a lot of us don't. I, for one, definitely have a bias against priests. When I see a story that a priest has been accused of sexual misconduct against a child, I say, of course he has, right? So that definitely is a double standard, completely there. However, there have been many cases where I think that myself and other skeptics in the community have said, let's wait for some evidence on this, or I don't care to comment because I don't know these people. And that happens a lot with the celebrities. I don't think that the atheist community cares a lot about the celebrities and what happens there. But, Ted Cruz, for example, when Ted Cruz was accused of sleeping with 5 women during the primaries, I said I needed proof before I'd believe it. And I hate Ted Cruz. I hate him. So there have been a lot of times where, sure, we do buy it.
Hey, sleeping with 5 women is not wrong as long as it's consensual.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, let's not. Anyways, no, go on. Sorry, you were making a point. Sorry, didn't I?
No, that's okay. So yes, there is some bias, but I think that it's perfectly fine. I think that this is good for us. This is good for our community to have these discussions, and it's good for our community to get that pointed out to them. Are we defending Krauss because he's quote unquote one of us, or are we holding to our ground on saying every woman who comes forward with an allegation must be believed no matter what? Can we as a community check our biases? Can we do that? So I think that having this conversation is important.
All right. So acknowledging the bias aside, how could you not believe this many accusations from so many different women? What does it take? Like I'm saying, I'm playing devil's advocate, right? Somebody says, like, what does it take for you to believe these women? Like, what more could you possibly ask for? How would you respond to that? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. Am I putting you on the spot here?
No.
Okay.
I think that we definitely should have these questions asked of us, make us think. One thing about believing an accusation is when the person being accused steps forward and say, yes, this did happen. Right? That's somebody who corroborates the story. It's somebody who says that it did happen. C.K. Lewis, I believe, was accused, and he came forward and said, yes, those things did happen, and I'm sorry for them happening. Kevin Spacey came forward and said, yes, that happened. There have been other people that have come forward and said, okay, I did that. So there's a good. I understand that some people could be lying and saying that never happened, right? But I think that what really would help me believe these accusations one way or another is if we had a good definition of what sexual misconduct meant, and if we had a clearer idea of what Krauss thought was happening at that time. If he goes up and starts flirting with a woman and he puts his hand on her knee and she doesn't like it, did she make it outrageously clear not to ever touch her? He might have thought that she was flirting with him, so he was trying to flirt back. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know these two. So I don't know if that was sexual misconduct. I don't know. I don't know because I don't have the whole story. I don't know these people. So I think that what it takes is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I believe these women or don't believe these women. And I think that a lot of people need to hear that. It doesn't matter what your opinion necessarily is on this. If it means that you're trying to crucify somebody over your stance and your belief one way or another, that is blind. What does it take for you to believe these women? That's what I would ask. Why do you believe them without evidence?
Right. I mean, this idea of who do we believe, I think it's a wrong way of phrasing the question, because it shouldn't be based on who, like, it should be based on what evidence do we believe, right? You don't believe based on who's making the claim. You believe based on the evidence that is provided, right? And if before you have evidence, it's not. I think both people from both sides are making wrong claims. Like, a lot of people from one side are saying we should believe the woman, even though we haven't seen the evidence. But people on the other side also are saying, instead of saying we're withholding judgment until proven otherwise, they're actually making their own claim. They're making the claim that this is definitely slander, and these people are lying, right? And there are people after them, right? You can't make either of those claims. You can't. I think the best claim we could make right now is, I don't know, right? That's the most safest and most logical position to be in. I don't know I'm not seeing many people saying I have no idea. I mean, you said I have no idea. I don't know, right? But most people seem to be to be completely certain. Have already, not most people, maybe, I don't know. many people seem to be convinced of one side of the story. Like many people have been convinced that these are true, and many people have been convinced that these are lies. But I don't really understand either of those positions unless they have access to some information that I don't, right?
Right. And I think that we should point out here, I'm sorry, were you going to finish something up?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt you. I think that a point that we should bring out, though, about this article is it has a clear bias. Right from the very start, if you look at the byline of the article, the title of itself is "He became a celebrity for putting science before God. Now Lawrence Krauss faces allegations of sexual misconduct." I'm kind of skeptical about if that's how he became a quote unquote celebrity, just by putting science before God. But in the byline, it says Lawrence Krauss is a famous atheist and liberal crusader, and in certain whisper networks, we don't know what those are because they never tell us. There's a well-known problem with women coming forward alleging sexual harassment. Will the skeptic fan base believe the evidence? So they're asking if we as the skeptic community are going to believe the evidence. And the only evidence that they've provided here is that women have stepped forward accusing Krauss. Do I believe women have stepped forward to accuse Krauss? Absolutely. So what are they asking with that question? What are they asking? With women coming forward alleging sexual harassment, will the skeptic fan base believe the evidence?
What evidence?
What evidence?
Oh.
What evidence? So what they're doing here in their byline, they are setting the entire tone of this article that we are supposed to take this as evidence that Krauss is guilty. I think that people need to point that out.
I just want to make it clear. If you're saying, I don't know, that's not the same as saying these women are lying. Okay? A lot of people see it like that. Right? When you say, like, I can't believe something without evidence, a lot of people will feel like you're actually taking, because if people have been victims of sexual misconduct and they're telling you, and you tell them that, well, I can't, and let's say it's real, and you tell them, well, I can't believe without evidence, for a real victim, that's really frustrating, right? I mean, that's understandably very frustrating. But what can you do? You can't really believe things without evidence, right? But claiming that we can't believe things without evidence is not really the same as saying you're lying, right? But a lot of people see it like that, say it as an accusation to these women that they're lying, right? But it's not really the same thing. And a lot of people say, what do you say to this? A lot of people say that you should just believe these women because not just sexual misconduct and also like rape accusations or even milder situations, because they're all wrong. No matter, some of them are severe, some of them are less severe, but they're all wrong. And you should just believe these women because the consequences of you believing them and them lying is less than the consequences of you not believing them and then them happening to be telling the truth. So they're saying getting an innocent man in trouble or woman is less of an issue than letting a rapist or a sexual deviant or whatever get away with what they did. That's why it's better to over-accuse than under-accuse. What would you say to that?
I think that's ridiculous.
Okay.
I think that I would rather, and let me tell you, and I know this isn't going to be popular, but if you want to know what I believe, I would rather, me personally, would rather 100 men guilty of sexual misconduct walked free than to see one man falsely accused. And I am saying men here because it's mostly men who are accused. When women go flirting with men, when women touch a man's knee and things like that, they don't scream sexual misconduct. And so I think that even this within itself is kind of a double standard. I don't think it's fair that any man get falsely accused for sexual. They can lose their job, they can lose their wife, they can lose their respect in the community. I mean, these allegations carry. This is not just simple. I'm saying he did this to me, for whatever reason, so it's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. I want people to know that this happened. There is no such thing as a man getting off after he's been accused. People still believe it. And so if you've been falsely accused, you're ruining somebody's life. And I think that it's bullshit. I would rather women who have seriously been hurt by a man come forward and say how they were seriously hurt by a man with their evidence, with everything else. Women and men both who have been sexually victimized have to find a way to deal with it. They have to find a way to live with it, and it sucks. I know that it
also sucks if you're being a victim and your abuser gets away with it. They both suck. Why is it one of them? Yeah.
Right.
Right. So why is an innocent man getting accused wrongly more of an issue than an abuser getting? Why is that not also?
So again, we need to go back to what the definition of abuse is here. If somebody raped you, if somebody did something to absolutely
by the way,
hurt
just to
you,
be clear, we're not
illegal.
saying. By the way, just to be clear, in this story there was no rape accusation. It's just sexual misconduct.
That's correct.
Not to say sexual misconduct is not a big deal, but in this story there was no rape accusations. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Right.
Yeah, but many accusations of sexual misconduct. So my question is, if Lawrence Krauss is with you and Lawrence Krauss maybe hugs you too long or does something to make you feel uncomfortable, is that really such a terrible thing that everyone needs to know about it and he needs to be deplatformed? So my question is, is there a way that people can come to a mutual understanding of what happened by looking at both sides of the story? He's not being accused of anything violent. He's not being accused of anything that's absolutely terrible. These women are having, if these allegations are true, they're having to live with something that is hard for them, that makes them uncomfortable, that they don't like, and I most certainly get that. But what is the definition that we're using here for sexual abuse and sexual misconduct? When does sexual misconduct and sexual abuse cross the line? We know that a man who rapes a woman or a woman who rapes a man, we know that that is terrible. And I believe personally that something like that is deplatformable. Don't invite that person back to colleges where it's the college's responsibility to keep people safe. If this man has been convicted of raping another woman. So I think that a lot of people would agree with that. And then I think if we start moving down the scale to the example I gave earlier, let's say Lawrence Krauss hugs you a little too long and it makes you uncomfortable. Is that something to accuse him of sexual misconduct over?
Okay, no, maybe not that, but what about the other ones, the main one, like I don't know, okay, so I don't know, it really depends on how you phrase things, right? Like I could phrase it like this. I could phrase it like, hey, if I invite you to my room and then you come to my room and then you come there and I say like, hey, want to have a glass of wine, and I think like, wow, this is going really great, and then I make a move and you like, what the hell are you doing? You completely misunderstood. I have a respect for your intellectually, I have respect for you. I respect your work. You completely misunderstood what you're doing here. And I'm like, oh my God, I completely misread the situation. And then you like leave the room. That's like a misunderstanding, right? That sounds like a misunderstanding rather than a sexual misconduct. But but then again, you could say like, I was sitting there and he just grabbed me and I had to get out of the room, right? So the same story could be really phrased in different ways, and
so we've been presented with both stories. That's the problem here. Is we've been presented with those exact same stories. So why should we believe one over the other?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is and to people to ask that us what kind of evidence do you demand, I tell them, I really don't know. That's because I'm not a detective, I'm not a judge, and that's why we pay tax dollars so that our government could hire experts to figure this shit out. Right? Like I don't
Yeah,
know what's good evidence in this situation. I don't know
I
if
I I
50
don't know.
different stories makes it an reliable evidence or not. I don't know how psychology, people's motivations, or the statistical, the number of people that you add, how does that add to the statistically make something how much less likely? I know it makes it less likely to be a lie, but how much less likely? I don't know how the math works in that. That's why we rely on experts. That's why I think it's okay for us to wait. Like, I think people don't like waiting to come up with a conclusion. They just have to have their conclusions right
Absolutely.
away. They have to make a decision.
Yeah,
Like,
and
whose
they have
side
to
am I
fight for
on?
it,
What?
right? And exactly. We see right now our community is fighting. One is fighting for the alleged victims here, and the other is fighting for the alleged accuser here. We're seeing people throw this out as fake news. Fake news. People are angry that we've let a discussion go on
Oh yeah,
about
no,
this.
actually,
And some of our close groups.
can you explain that? So we put this. So we're not saying these stories are true. Well, I mean, the stories is true, but whether the allegations are true or not. But we got backlash from the other side as well, because this was posted on Atheist Republic, and other people were saying that you should remove this because this is fake news. But these people that are saying this is fake news and are defending Lawrence, they're also like the other side people, because how we don't know it's fake news. Like, how could you tell this is fake news? Like, they must have know something that we don't. So we can't decide either way. Is that really hard for people to? I mean, is that very hard for people to do? To say, I'm not going to make a decision right now. Um,
I feel like everyone needs to be some sort of social warrior right now, and I do say that social warrior for both sides. People feel like we do need to take sides here, and that we do need to fight here over this topic. And we can't just say, "I wasn't involved, and I don't know." If you want to look at this, women, if you want to look at this article and say, okay, next time I go to an event with Lawrence Krauss, I'm going to be careful. I am not going to go up to his hotel room if he invites me to his hotel room. That's fine. That is something that you can do. You've read this. You've made a decision on your own how you want to act around Lawrence Krauss, right? And how you want to make sure you don't become a victim next. But how can we sit here and fight one way or the other for this? It doesn't even involve us, really. BuzzFeed did indeed bring in the entire skeptic community, and that has me outrageously pissed off. The way that they
We are
describe
all the
the
same.
community.
Didn't you know? We're all the same. We all think the same. We all come up with the same conclusion.
Oh, we all have the same idols, and we're fractured. We are a fractured community because some of our leaders, quote unquote,
Yeah, that's what
have
they said.
different
They said
opinions than we do.
they said we're a fractured community because we can't. Apparently, we disagree. Apparently, if you have disagreements within a community, that makes it a fractured community. Apparently,
That's all the skeptic community is. We're just a whole bunch of people sitting around debating and disagreeing with each other.
Yeah,
That's what we are.
I mean,
How are
if
we
we start
fractured from
agreeing with
this?
each other, that's the sign of a problem there. I think. If we all of a
Yeah.
sudden agreed with each other and we had like we agreed with the main figures in the community, that would be the sign of a problem. Not if we constantly arguing against each other. That shows that we're having good discussions, right? They think like this.
Yeah.
Let's say like these accusations are true. They think, oh my God, they took one of our prophets out. Like, oh, how could we ever recover? As if our speakers that we admire and listen to, as if like we're following, as if we get our moral. If we're following somebody because we're enjoying their commentary on science, that doesn't mean they're our moral leader as well. They could be morally, very, not very morally. have high moral standards, but they might be geniuses, right? I mean, what I said to a friend of mine before this was that if we all of a sudden discover that Einstein murdered a whole bunch of people, that doesn't make E any less equal to MC square, right?
That's right.
Right?
That is right.
So, I mean, his books and his commentary on science are still going to be as valid or not as valid as before, right? But people say, okay, maybe you could still read his books and stuff, but if it's true, then maybe you shouldn't have him at events because, he doesn't know how to behave properly next to other people. And that's true
Beej asked a question.
Well,
sorry. Beej asked a question I just wanted to answer real quick. He asked, have any of these encounters happened since he got married? According to BuzzFeed, yes, he did proposition somebody to come back to his cabin with his wife for group sex. So that's one of the accusations against him for sexual misconduct. I don't see that as sexual misconduct.
Some people mentioned power dynamics before in the YouTube comment. It went down, and I'm not seeing it anymore. But so some people say, like, okay, if somebody unknown does something, it's not the same as somebody like him does it, because now maybe he's using his power or influence over them, and that makes it a sexual conduct. That's why it's a sexual misconduct. That's why, So what would you say to that?
Mm-hmm. I still think that someone in Krauss's position, I think that's unfair. I think that the power dynamics should really be held to workplace dynamics, right? Because your entire life is kind of depending on whether or not your boss likes you or whether or not your boss doesn't fire you.
Well, some of these people were in the some of these people that made these accusations were in the Skeptic working with Skeptic organizations, right? So
yeah, but did their lives depend on Krauss? Did their job, did their financial security depend on Krauss?
I don't know.
And I think that is when power dynamics can come into play, right? I think that should be something that's reserved more for the workplace. And if they were working for Krauss and he did this, then absolutely that would be inappropriate. I do believe that would be sexual misconduct. But I don't think it's fair that just because somebody is in a position of power in any way, that they can't flirt with someone else. I mean, I see that Tammy here in the comments said Lawrence can hug me as long as he wishes, right? There are some women who would love Lawrence Krauss to come on to them.
The YouTube people, that's in the Facebook live feed. So
yes, that's in the Facebook live feed.
All right.
So there are some people who would love for Lawrence Krauss to come on to them. So how can he draw the line? He can draw the line by saying, okay, not my employees. Right? If he's working for a university, which I know that he's working for ASU now, where I attended for a short while, but I know that he's working for ASU now. So, if they have standards that students can't have sexual relations with professors and vice versa, that would be crossing a line, right? I think that would, again, hold a power dynamic. Somebody's life literally depends on Krauss. If they get a good grade, if they get a bad grade, that kind of directs their future. So I think that's where a power dynamic should come into play, not just because he's famous.
Right. But by the way, I just want to make it clear, when we think like, when people say that we should just believe, right? That sounds a lot like faith, doesn't it, to you? That sounds a lot like just believe. Isn't that
absolutely?
Yeah, but the thing
isn't that how we were indoctrinated? Just believe.
Right, but here's the thing: if it's not that a lot of people are afraid that if you say if you are coming out and saying you shouldn't believe, right? They drop the part that say you shouldn't believe without evidence. That means that you're dismissing these women. Dismissing people that are coming there and coming out and need protection and need support. And if you say we can't believe you, you're just dismissing them. But that's not the I think you should just demand, you should adjust what you're demanding. I think you should demand for people to listen to all people that are making accusations. You should demand for people to take these accusations seriously. You should demand for people not to ignore these accusations. You should demand people to investigate these accusations. But demanding people to believe the accusations without evidence, that's just one step too far. Nobody's saying to ignore these people, to not take them seriously. They should be taken very seriously. They should be all these accusations should be investigated as much as possible, right? That's just when you're saying you can't believe without evidence. That's not at all dismissing how important it is for us to take these accusations seriously and investigate each one of them, right? We're saying we shouldn't believe them. That's not the same as claiming that they're lying. We're just saying just hold on, just wait before passing judgment. Just wait a little bit, wait, and then pass your judgment. That's all that you're saying, right? But I think a lot of people saying we can't believe without evidence as a sign that you're just dismissing these women that need your protection. And that's why it's so sensitive to people, because some of the most vulnerable people in our community that need our protection, it feels like you're just pushing them aside, right?
Yeah, and I can definitely see that. And I definitely agree. Any accusation that comes forth does need to be taken very seriously. I do agree with that. But if you can't... And the other point that I'm dying to make here is, what difference does it make if random strangers believe you or not? In a matter like this, if Armin, if I'm telling you a story and you say I don't believe you, that might affect me. I'm talking to you, I'm telling you a story. However, if I put a story out there to the world and a whole bunch of Joe Schmoes are just like, I don't believe Allie, what difference does it make? I think that different people hold different value to on their opinion on a matter. I think that to me, law professionals here, that matters. Their opinion matters, right? If Lawrence Krauss has done something over the line, I do believe the law needs to get involved and the law needs to investigate these accusations. I believe that colleges and universities and other places where Lawrence Krauss is going to be speaking, if they hold, if they see something, if they say, something was inappropriate, I would like to hear their opinion on this matter. But why would a random victim even care if someone believes them or not?
Okay, I'll counter your argument, okay, to see what you think. I would say that because getting legal justice is very difficult. It's sometimes very expensive, right? So a lot of people go for getting mob justice instead of legal justice. But the problem is that mob justice doesn't have a very good track record, right? Of getting it right. But then a lot of people feel like, well, we're helpless. Something did happen to us, and we don't have enough resources or enough evidence. Maybe we don't even have enough evidence to get justice. But we know that this happened, so at least we could maybe get some mob justice out of it. Maybe that's why maybe a lot of people care about winning in the court of opinion rather than the court of law. Because maybe they just given up hope. I mean, maybe the answer should be that maybe every time something like this happens, we could open a crowdfunding for somebody to investigate this. We could crowdfunding for hiring lawyers.
I think that is a fantastic idea. Any sort of special private investigator who can get to the bottom of what happened, because if these women, again, we don't know if these accusations are 100% true. Wouldn't that feel better? Somebody going and say, hey, look, I found a place where Lawrence Krauss admitted that this happened. I found an email where he admitted to doing this, or something of that nature. Like, I think that is doing more justice for victims than just, I blindly believe you no matter what you say.
Actually,
I think that would actually
blindly believing the victims could actually hurt them, because here's what a lot of people argue. A lot of people argue that, the number of people that make false accusations is such a low percentage that this is a non-issue. Okay? but I don't know if that's true or not, but let's say it's true, for the sake of argument. But the thing is that you, by believing without demanding any proof or evidence, or just by based on the number of people that made an accusation, how likely it is that this is true, then you're actually helping to increase that percentage, because you're making it very, you're encouraging people to use this method, because if people notice that they can hurt people, without even if it's not a big issue now, you're making it you're going to make it an issue by showing people how you could get revenge or hurt somebody's career or life, or somebody that you are jealous of, or I don't know what the people's motivations are. But you're showing them that this is a possibility, because you know, as soon as the accusations are made, that person's life is already ruined. And the thing is that this is not only for the sake of the innocent person that has been accused. The problem is that if you increase that percentage, more examples of false accusations are going to get out, because more of them are going to be proven to be false. And a small number of false accusations that are proven false is going to really hurt real victims' cases, right? It's going to be harder to take real victims seriously if you have a higher number of false accusations. So if you make false accusations work, you're not only hurting the innocent person that was accused, you're actually hurting a lot of real victims of abuse. And that's why it's very important to be careful. And you know, you don't actually get anything out of believing without evidence, because let's just believe them, and then we'll figure it out later if it's true or not, right? But if the evidence is there, then they're going to be proven to be true, right? So why can't you just wait? Yep. Right? If these accusations are true and there's evidence for it, then there's no cost to withholding judgment until it's proven, because you're going to be proven right? Just instead of you will help these victims more by trying to help them, take them seriously, by helping them take their evidence, help them with their legal costs, help them with their investigation. You will help them more like that, rather than just saying, I'm going to just believe you. That's not going to help them. That's right. You know, that's actually going to hurt them, because then you're going to get more false examples. There is no harm in waiting before concluding, right? But there is no harm in taking the victim seriously, and you know, and not ignoring them without coming up with a conclusion right away. What's the harm in that? Who are you harming? Who's the victim here? Who are you harming if you wait before you coming to a conclusion? If you wait for the evidence to out there. The only people you're benefiting if you just wait are the people that, or is that small percentage that is making the false accusations. Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people see this as like a left versus right thing, or as a man versus woman thing. But, you know, we should all just be for the victims, against the abusers. This has nothing to do with men versus women or left versus right. I think everybody in this discussion, I hope everybody in this discussion, other than the abusers, are for the victims against the abusers. And the main thing, if you are for the victims, I think the first step into protecting the victims is to make sure you identify the right victims, right? Getting the victim right and making sure who's an actually victim is the first step. Or else, if you misidentify the victims, it's going to hurt your entire case. But I think this is because everything is becoming political, people want to frame it into men versus women or right versus left thing. But some people are commenting. I think I missed a whole bunch of people in the chat. Ignore chat while you're making a point so it doesn't distract you. Oh, thanks. I think that's
good advice for us both.
Advice. But okay.
Yeah.
You go on. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go on.
No, I just wanted to point out that when reading these articles, this all did stem from BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed clearly has a bias. BuzzFeed believes that, and they prove it in their byline, that they believe that what they've written here is evidence against Krauss, which is disgusting. I think it's a form of manipulation that shouldn't go into professional journalism. I want to point out that they do try to skew the skeptic community, saying that we draw heavily from traditional male groups, scientists, philosophers, libertarians, as well as geeky subcultures like gamers and sci-fi enthusiasts. They make it sound like atheism is a man's club, and atheism is nothing but Gamergate-style online attacks, which is what they've accused us of again, Gamergate-style online attacks against women. They've made the atheist skeptics community seem like we are just a whole bunch of men sitting in our parents' basements, drinking Mountain Dew, eating Doritos, and yelling at women on the internet. So I do want to point out that their bias is outrageously clear. We do definitely have a strong female presence in our community. We're here. We are actively out there doing great things for our community. And I think that there's 2 paragraphs in this article addressing the skeptic community that literally make me sick. I think it's disgusting how they're skewing it to make it seem like the skeptic community is nothing but a whole bunch of people running around yelling at Muslims, cheering Milo. We're full of misogyny and harassment. We deny gender theory. I just read all that from this article. So I think it's disgusting. I think that it's disgusting. I think that they are trying hard to make a point, and when I see somebody in the journalist community try hard to make a point without using facts and evidence.
Yeah. Sorry.
I think that shouldn't be something that should be ignored. That's all I wanted to say, Armin.
We have grown a lot, right? And when a community grows enough, you can find any type of people in it if you look, right? And if you're trying to make a point that this is the communities like this, you're going to be able to find your examples of whatever point you want to make about the community, because the community is big enough for it to have plenty of examples of the exactly type of people that you want looking for to make that accusation, right? The interesting thing is that they're accusing us of like generalizing the Muslim community or maybe the religious community or this and that, but then they're doing this with us. But it's okay to do this with us because we're atheists. Who gives a shit about atheists, right? If we went and find some Muslims and like look at what the Muslim communities, like we go find some misogyny in the Muslim community and be like, oh look, this is the Muslim community has turned this, or like go look at some Christian priests and like, look, this represents Catholics, all of them, right? This represents the Catholic community. People would be calling us bigots or racists or overgeneralizing, but it's everybody everybody will point out that we're being bigots, but nobody does this. Nobody gives a shit if you do this with the amount of the comments that people make on TV in even countries like United States and Canada that are so now, have this PC culture. The one group of people that nobody gives a shit if you generalize or make comments about the entire community of is atheists. And this is because we haven't become strong enough to be able to protect each other, right? And I think that needs to change. You know, if you change that, would they make his? Would you be able to find a similar article in BuzzFeed if you replace skeptic community with the Muslim community? If you know what I'm trying to say.
You just brought up a fantastic point. Absolutely. If they were to replace Muslim community with the skeptic community, as they did in that article, and trash the Muslim community, I don't think that we would find BuzzFeed doing that anywhere. I don't.
But here's the thing. You mentioned like a lot of women in our community that are strong and proud of being part of the community. You know, what do you tell me if you think this is a bad idea? Okay. What if a lot of women in the community that think that we need to be skeptical and we can't make judgments before, you know, reliable evidence by experts, not by us, because we don't know, like women that want to promote skepticism, if they went to all these people that say we should just believe women, what if these women in our community went and found all these people and accused all of them of rape? Right? Just go out and find the people that say we should just believe the woman and accuse each and every one of them of rape. And based on their own standards, we should just believe the woman. I want to see if they're going to, you know, use their own standards.
If they're going to stand by their words.
Yeah, you're going to stand by their words.
Absolutely. Are they going to stand by their words then? Because, you know, a woman has come forward saying, hey, this guy raped me. Everyone just believe me blindly. Right? He said so. He said it's okay for you to do that. I wonder. That's a very good point. I mean, people want to point out that, there aren't really any false accusations out there. They're like 2% false accusations, and they don't even make it past law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. In today's day and age, all it takes is one person online. You don't need to go to the police anymore. Okay, so the statistics of what a false accusation is goes completely out the window. You don't have to go to the police to file assault charges against somebody anymore. All you have to do is create a Twitter account. That's all you have to do. One Twitter account can ruin an entire man's life. So should we be blindly believing people who say things happen to them? No, it doesn't help the woman who's accusing someone else, and it definitely sure as hell does not help the man she's accusing. So no, we should never blindly believe anyone. Should we give them a platform to speak? Absolutely. Let's do that. Should we take them seriously? Absolutely, let's do that. But never, and I would say this even to myself, okay, even for myself, if I were raped and came forward and said, I've been raped by so-and-so, I would not want you to blindly believe me.
Well, I mean, sometimes emotion takes place into it. I mean, if it's somebody who's personally connected to a situation, I wouldn't blame them for their emotions taking over their logic, right? If my wife came to me and says I was raped, I'm not gonna be like, I don't believe you until you provide me evidence, right?
That's different.
Right.
But Armin, that's different. Okay, that's not a random stranger online. That's your wife. You have built a trust with your wife. So I would like to point that out. There's a huge difference between a friend of yours coming to you, a spouse coming to you, a relative coming to you, somebody that you know on a personal level that you have built through years or whatever, you've built trust with these people. That's totally different, okay? But if you're just perusing on Twitter one day and look at some hashtag and say, hey, this woman said that some other person I don't know raped her, I blindly believe her. Let's start a mutiny. Let's whip out our tar and feathers. Let's destroy this person.
It's not just trust. I'm saying sometimes, okay, for example, right now, I would say if you have ISIS captured and they don't have guns in them, you shouldn't just shoot them in the head, right? Because they're not. Yeah. You have captured them. You can't just shoot people that are unarmed, right?
Right.
But I'm sure my opinion would be very different if these people have raped my daughter and killed her after, right? I wouldn't care about human rights and all that bullshit right after that, right? But I'm just saying at that.
Certainly.
I'm just saying like sometimes. I understand, but the thing is that if a mother wants to kill an captured ISIS person because they killed her son, I understand that. But my expectations of my government would be different from somebody that is emotionally being affected by something, right? So I'm just saying, our our expectations for people to logically consider things when they are so close emotionally to what has happened, our expectations should be lower. But our expectations for people in law or in the government, those expectations are obviously innocent until proven guilty. But by the way, Roy is mentioned a comment here on the story. More reasons I got out of the atheist community. There's so many garbage people in it, top to bottom. I'm gonna say, Roy, good. We don't want you in this community. Leave the community. If you think that we don't need the community for one of the most discriminated groups in the whole world, for people, for a group of people that have been that are that would be punished by death, by in just because of being an atheist, that are one of the most hated groups of people in the whole world, that are one of the least trusted groups of people in the whole world. If you think these people don't deserve to have a community, to find each other, to normalize being an atheist, to protect each other, to feel like they're not alone, that they shouldn't be ashamed, if you think that you finding some examples of bad people in the community means that this community should be abandoned, then it's better to have this community without you in it. And I'm glad that you have left this community.
And I completely agree with that. I also, anyone who believes that our community or our community shouldn't exist, or they should leave our community over people having different opinions, also great. I mean, that's kind of who we are. We all have different opinions. The only thing that unites us is a lack of belief in a God. So of course we're going to have different opinions. I think that if you are strong enough in your belief, in your opinion, you should be able to argue it, or you should be open enough to change your mind and say, hey, you know what, maybe I was wrong. I cannot tell all of you how much I have changed since I've joined the atheist community. It has been such an eye-opening experience to me. People flat out coming up to me and being like, that is some bullshit way of thinking, Allie. Do you really believe that? And then, whoa, do I really believe this? I mean, I was pro-life when I stopped believing in God. I was pro-life. I had a lot of really weird ideas that were ingrained into my head. I was ingrained to hate the LGBT community. I was ingrained that women who have abortions are terrible, they're whores, they're blah blah blah. I can't even describe to you how much that was ingrained into me. And it was through discussion of the atheist community, me coming out with an opinion, other people being brave enough to say that's a bullshit opinion, you shouldn't believe that because of XYZ. And it took time. It takes time. So if you don't like other opinions, that's fine. You don't have to like other people's opinions. But if you want to be a part of the community, at least have the guts to come out and say, that's a bullshit opinion. This is why it's a bullshit opinion. And be open to, changing your mind. Be open to growing. That is part of this community. We're constantly changing. We're constantly growing. And I think that is a very important thing to point out.
Right. I want to also respond to Brian in the YouTube chat saying that not believing in a stupid idea like God doesn't get you any credit, nor does it make you a community. No, Brian, not believing in a God doesn't automatically turn us into a community. That's why a lot of people that don't believe in the God and are atheists don't want to be part of the community. What makes us a community is us getting together and wanting to make a community. That's what makes us a community. Atheist communities. There are many different atheist communities, and they exist not because a community automatically exists because we just happen to not believe in God. We just decided to get together and protect each other, and not because we think we deserve more credit or less credit than other people. We just know that we're being targeted. We know that a lot of us feel alone, and we know a lot of us feel demonized, attacked, and in danger. And we think it's worth getting together. And it's worth talking about it, and it's worth being there for each other, and it's worth not making sure other people understand that there's nothing wrong with them and that they're not alone, and to bring attention to the fact that they're suffering or that they maybe help them if they need protection. That's what makes a community. Not lack of belief in God by itself automatically does not make us in a community. That's a decision that we made after we stopped believing in God. That was our decision to make. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's also very important that many people in our community use online communities, because where they come from, they'll be murdered if they go to their friend or go to their parents and say, "I don't believe in Allah." We're talking about people who can't necessarily, even in America, go to their family and friends and say, "I don't believe in church and God. I want to stop going to church," or else they'll be socially crucified. I mean, we have these communities so that we have a place where we belong. We have a place where we can say, "Hey, I had a miscarriage," and you're not going to hear a whole bunch of God needed another angel bullshit. You're not going to hear all that shit shoved down your throat. We have these communities because there are certain events in our lives where we do need to leave God out of it. Okay, when someone dies, I don't want to hear about them being in heaven, them not being in pain anymore and being in a better place. I don't want to hear that bullshit. Okay, we get together so that we can support each other on many different issues. Some people would not be able to tell anyone they were an atheist if it weren't for the atheist community.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad. I wish I had a community. When I became an atheist, I felt very alone, and I'm happy that we're here for many other people that might need us, and not just our community. There are many other atheist communities, and they all have different goals and different priorities. And there's none
right.
of and there are many different atheist communities for people to pick and choose, which is fantastic. Anyways, we should go to the next story. We have 10 stories, but this first one took a lot of our time. No, okay. So let me just one last response to Brian. He says, "Then your community has nothing to do with atheism." Yes, it does, because we decided to make a community for atheists. Okay, it's very interesting. And an example I give to people is like, if we make a community of Americans against racism, right? That does not suggest that all Americans are against racism, or that only Americans are against racism. That's just a community of people that decided that if they want to make an anti-racist group in America, right? And they get to do that. They get to make a community about that, right? That doesn't mean that anybody that is anti-racism has to be part of this community, right? There might be anti-racists, but they don't want to be part of that community. You could make communities as you go, and your communities could have goals, and you could be successful at achieving them, and you could be not successful at achieving them. Making a community around a certain idea doesn't change the definition of that idea. If you make a community against racism, that doesn't change the definition of racism. It doesn't suggest that people that are not in your community are not against racism. That's just a community around a certain idea. Doesn't change the definition, doesn't make a claim about that idea. So if you make a community called Atheist Republic, that doesn't mean that you have certain goals beyond just atheism. You say, like, we're a community of atheists that want to do this. That doesn't mean that all atheists are like that. That means that the atheists that are in this community are against this or want to achieve this or that, right? Some atheists might not even care that about other atheists around the world, the fact that they're discriminated. So they're not part of this community. They have different ideas. They have different goals. Just because we have certain goals as atheists in this community, we're not redefining atheism. We're just saying atheists in this community, these are the goals and agendas that we're having. Anyways, people are afraid of building communities because they think it makes us very close to being like a religion. And I tell them that religions do not have a monopoly over making communities. We shouldn't be giving we shouldn't give them ownership over building communities. Anyways, let's go to the next story that we spent too much time on this. All right, so what's this?
Well, I believe that story did deserve a little bit of time, so I'm glad we did that.
Yes.
Our next article, we're talking about a man who took to Twitter telling the world about alleged torture of prisoners in his country. And he was sentenced to 2 years in jail for spreading fake news, and he had been jailed over similar reasons in the past. So this is one of those things where people going on Twitter, being human rights activists, trying to say something is wrong, look at what my country has done. The country is censoring them, shutting them up, saying you're not allowed to say these things. What you said was false, even though I believe in the past he has actually shown evidence of his claims, and they throw him in jail. So we have Amnesty International going after them, saying this is absolutely outrageous. It's just, how can people be imprisoned over Twitter? And we see this constantly in the atheist community. We see people go down for making blasphemous conversation in social media. And I don't know. What do you think about it, Armin?
I mean, 5 years. Holy shit. I mean, even if it was fake news, I don't think 5 years is so fucking extreme. I mean, what was the tweet?
Well, let's see. The tweet in and of itself was literally just saying, let's see if I can find it. Sometimes they update these things.
Oh my god.
Did you see that? Okay, so he was actually already serving a separate 2-year sentence for this as well. So not only has he's been in jail in and out since 2011 for different issues. So yeah, and it's all human rights.
Oh wow, he criticized Saudi Arabia and actually in the war in Yemen.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this was the problem?
Yep.
I mean, so Saudi Arabia bombing innocent women and men, women, and children in Yemen, innocent people. That's not saying that, criticizing Saudi Arabia against that. Oh my god, that's such a hypocrite.
Well, so he was criticizing them for torturing their prisoners.
Okay, this guy
is a
hero then, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And
this guy is getting 5 years in prison for things me and you do every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this is why we should talk about these things more, because there are people that are doing it with take so much risk, and we here have zero risk by bringing attention to issues like this, by bringing attention to Saudi Arabia waging a religious war. Nobody deny that this is a Sunni Shia thing. I mean, the goals are different, but Sunni and Shia mythology has been used on both sides. Both Saudi Arabia and Iran have used this against each other, and the people in Yemen are definitely paying the price for Iran's agenda in trying to spread a Shia empire around the Middle East, and Saudi Arabia's anti-Shia. I mean, so many people in Yemen are suffering for it, and we talk about it, and sometimes people tell us that we should talk about, they don't. We should focus on things closer to our area. Like, we should focus, if we're in Canada or in US, these things closer to us matter more. Like, let them worry about their issues and us worry about our issues. But look, this is a man that is trying to help situation in his country, or in his in the Middle East, around his area. And this is what happens. And this is why people in free countries, people in countries where there is zero consequences to bringing attention to issues like this, they need to do more. We need to use countries where with zero consequences to saying these things. We need to bring, when you see somebody, there's consequences to bringing attention to something. This needs to backfire, right? So when somebody suffers for bringing attention to something that absolutely deserves bringing attention to, we need to, make sure that whatever he was trying to bring attention to gets much more exposure than his own original tweet. Because
if they take his voice, we should be his voice.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. We need to be the voice for the people that don't have a voice. Anyways, this is fucking sad. Fuck you, Bahrain.
Yeah.
All right, so let me just close these windows that we've done. What's the next one?
Next one, Sweden lorry attacker who killed shoppers wanted to build a caliphate. we have an asylum seeker in Sweden. I'm sorry, in Stockholm, who killed 5 people and injured 10 people when he stole a beer lorry, drove it into a building, and then set off a bomb. He wanted to fulfill Prophet Muhammad's prophecies and wanted to stop Sweden from sending its soldiers into war zones.
Which prophecy was this? This is, I mean, I can't imagine any of Muhammad's prophecies involving a lorry in it. But,
yeah, I don't know.
But he wanted to build a caliphate. Like, he died. He himself died, right? Or what happened?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Let's see.
I really don't understand. What's the I mean, what's the thinking process behind doing this and eventually having a caliphate? Like, what's the step-by-step process? First, you drive into a bunch of people. Wait, so how many?
This reminds me of a South Park episode with the underwear gnomes. First they gather the underwear, then question mark, then step number 3 is profit. You don't really know what their thinking or logic is here. It says that he escaped by running to a metro station, by the way, and was picked up several hours later. He since insisted he wanted to die as a martyr in the explosion. So which one is it? Did he want to?
Maybe he's just a step. He's just a small step in the grand scheme of things. Maybe that's what he thought.
Yeah, maybe.
But so I guess okay.
I think this is. By the way,
huh?
He did plead guilty
of course,
at his trial,
take credit
stealing the truck and driving into people.
Yeah, but
I don't know how he wouldn't, but
here's I think here's the thinking process. We need to make headline news. So they're not idiots, okay? Like, I mean, they're idiots, but they're not idiots. I mean, okay, just because they're delusional doesn't mean that there's not some logic behind this, right? I don't know if that makes sense, right? So the idea, I think, is we need to do something to show people that believed in us that we're still here. Right? So because they're having recruiting problem, right? So ISIS, people think ISIS, was this ISIS?
He did pledge his allegiance to ISIS the day before.
There you go. People think, okay, ISIS was defeated. This is all, maybe we should go look at some other terrorist group too, right? So because ISIS doesn't have a land, because the whole point of ISIS was that they have a state. They're not just a terrorist group, right? So that's why Al Qaeda was losing membership, because a lot of people liked the idea, like, finally we're gonna get our caliphate back, because these people don't just attack unbelievers; they actually have land that they're ruling over, right? So Al Qaeda was suffering a lot because they were losing membership. They weren't being able to, because imagine if your business model involves your employees dying. Your recruitment process becomes very important, right? Because you're constantly losing members, right? So
that's right.
So recruitment is very important, and Al Qaeda was suffering, and now ISIS is suffering, because that whole idea of the Islamic Caliphate doesn't seem very real anymore, right? You're losing almost all of their territories, so they just went back to being a traditional terrorist group, right? And they're looking more like what Al Qaeda is, but because they don't have that land, they have to show, like, at least in the Al Qaeda market, which like these kind of attacks, they're good, right? So they need to remind people, like, hey, we're not defeated yet, we're still here, please come and join. And that's the thinking process behind these kind of. They want to get media attention, right? Remember when ISIS was beheading people? Then they beheaded so many people that it wasn't getting enough news coverage. Then they went and found historical monuments and buildings and started destroying that, right? Because people are like, why are they so obsessed with destroying this? Because they know it's going to get news coverage. They need to constantly be in the news, because that's very important for their recruitment. Anyways, I think that's the thinking process here. Aziz is here. I'm not even surprised anymore. Yeah, see, when you say I'm not surprised anymore, that's what they're afraid of, because they think that if this becomes too normal, then it's not going to get news coverage, and if it doesn't get news coverage, but then somebody might come here like, then why are you posting this? You're helping them. I don't know. How would you respond to that?
Well, it's still. I mean, on one hand, even if we do expose these stories over and over and over, we're not helping them. We're helping to make this normal, which is sad in and of itself. But this stuff needs to be told. People need to know this stuff is happening out there in the world. A lot of mainstream news people aren't going to cover some of these stories. So if we can bring something like this to everyone's attention, that's important. And it does help normalize it. It does help people say, wow, I'm not even shocked anymore.
But do we want to normalize people dying from like an attack like this?
I mean, it's something that happens whether we want to do it or not. If you and I weren't reporting on this, somebody else would be reporting on this. We read this all the time. We're seeing this all the time. Ever since I've joined international atheist groups, I hear people who live in areas where there's a terrorist attacks down the street. I mean, it's become a point. It's become just a part of every day now. And so whether you and I are doing it or not, whatever our goal is, it doesn't matter. People are starting to feel this way because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. If you're in international groups, you're going to see this stuff.
Right. This was on Tuesday, February 20th, 2018. Because somebody's saying that this was happening in 2017, but no, I'm clicking on it. It's actually 2018. So maybe they're happening way too much. They're so similar now.
I do believe that I remember the one that happened in 2017. So
I think this is becoming the new normal, unfortunately, for
it
our
is.
country. Yeah.
And it's unfortunate.
Anyways, let's go to the next story. Nigeria. Wait, so this is not so Nigeria. Okay, first explain the story, but then I want to also comment, because this is confusing, because it seems like it's the previous girls, but these are new girls, right, that were abducted.
These are new girls. They actually do talk about the previous girls, the 2014.
Give us a summary before I comment.
So it was Monday that Boko Haram attacked a village. They kidnapped roughly 91 schoolgirls. And the Nigerian military on Wednesday was able to rescue 76 of the schoolgirls, and they also recovered 2 bodies of girls that died in custody.
This is very. A lot of people in Nigeria are angry right now because they were told by the government that Boko Haram was defeated, right? So now they're pissed off because they're like, how are they defeated if they stole a whole bunch of our girls again? This was a huge thing. Like, remember the campaign? What was it? Hashtag find
Yes, it was bring our girls back, or something like that. And it happened in 2014, and that's when 270 schoolgirls from, is it pronounced Chibok? They were taken there. Okay, so that was 270.
And some of those girls are from back then are still captured, like up till now.
They're still captured. Yes, they actually released a video, and 13 of the girls from this recent attack are missing as well. But they actually sent out a video, and they talk about it here, how they sent a video saying that these girls don't want to come back.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. So these girls were captured from schools, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Because Boko Haram means Western education is illegal, Islamically bad, right? So I think I'm not sure, but I think the justification is if you're taking because these schools for women, they're seeing it as haram too, especially because they're women being educated, right? And I think they also think that the education in the school in Nigeria is Western influenced. So they think like they're we say for us they're kidnapping these girls. They see it as them saving these girls. Like we went and saved
Right.
them. We brought them to an Islamic way of life. Now they get to marry Muslim men and stuff. So for us, it's like slavery. For them, it's like saving. But this is, I don't know. Like so, Nigeria. I mean, this is. I think this is becoming a PR. I heard actually now a lot of people are negotiating with them, right? And they were negotiating with Boko
Wow.
Haram before. They actually were giving them incentives, and some people were very angry because they think like the money and the resources they got from those negotiations actually encouraged them to go get more girls, right? Because last time we got girls and you negotiate with them, and now they're like, okay, the more girls we're gonna go kidnap, the more you actually encourage them. You're encouraging them. You're giving them something to negotiate with, right? So I don't know. Some people are saying it's if you don't talk to them, there's no other way. There's not enough resources to come to completely defeat them. But this is a major election issue, I think, in Nigeria. Let me see if anybody with more knowledge commented on this. More Islamic fruitcakes. That's not very insightful.
Well, while you're looking at that, I just wanted to point out,
93
from
still
a
missing.
humanitarian.
Is 93 still missing? How many still missing from this new girls?
From the new one, 13.
Oh, really?
But
Okay.
yeah, from this new attack, it's only 13 girls that are still missing, which I say only. That's horrifying. I just, from a humanitarian point of view, I do want to point out just how absolutely fucking disgusting this is, because we were talking about girls being at a schoolhouse, right? All of a sudden, men come in, pull up in huge trucks with guns attached to them, painted up like the military, firing guns off. And these girls tried running into the woods and had to spend the night in the woods, hoping that they would be safe in the morning when they returned to the schoolhouse. So that's how they actually identified 91 girls were missing, because 91 girls were not accounted for at their roll call at school on Tuesday. So I just want to point out how, if you were to put yourself in these shoes, how fucking horrifying this is.
Yeah. I mean, it's and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. But guys, please share these stories. It does sharing these stories do make a difference. I don't know. The more you share it, the more. The thing is that news agencies, they monitor how much clicks these stories are getting, and if you share it, it gets more clicks. You're actually helping more news coverage. More people decide, more news outlets deciding to cover it, right? Because they see that there's an interest in it. Anyways,
Definitely.
Nick in the chat group is saying that my name was used to dox somebody. I don't understand what that means. I mean, I know what doxing is, but I don't understand how could I be used against the masked Arab. I don't know, I don't know what this. Okay, somebody, Nick, can you just message me? I don't know what this is. By the way, oh no, I'll ask you later, Ali. Anyways, this
Okay.
yes, okay. So this seems like a serious issue, whatever Nick is saying. But please message me on Facebook, or just search for. If you just search for Armin Navabi, you're gonna find a page that you could email me on it. Anyways.
Yeah, the doxing using police called swatting, and that's pretty fucking scary because people could die. So yeah, I think that's important.
Wait,
Um,
I use you as a bullet against Mascara and threaten to doxing him. I don't understand what Nick is saying, but
yeah, doxing using police is a term called swatting. It's where you call the police to somebody's house saying like they're holding hostages, or they've got a gun, they're killing somebody, whatever, and the police show up and they have their guns drawn and they're ready to kill whoever whoever was targeted in the call to the police. It happened here in America recently where police killed a guy because somebody pranked the police to go to his house. It's pretty serious. It's pretty scary. So yeah, Nick, definitely please message Armin.
I'm a big fan of Masked Arab,
there.
so I'm gonna make sure so I'll look into this. Anyways,
Yeah.
next story. For now, let's focus on this.
Yeah, next story for now. This one is wow to me. This guy, and I'm so bad at name pronunciation, so I'm really sorry if I'm butchering this, but Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, the grandson of the founder of Pakistan's People Party, the PPP, came out as homosexual.
Oh.
And he's a cross-dresser, right? It's part of his art. And he, in this article about this, I just find that so fascinating because his grandfather was a huge political person there in Pakistan, and Mr. Bhutto's father also went into politics, and he was a prime minister who was assassinated. And so here's Zulfikar here in America, and he uses his art to talk about how he's a proud Muslim, he's gay, and yeah, there's a video of him that went viral cross-dressing. It was during Gay Pride Month. And I think this is a really interesting article, especially for people who think that Muslims can't be gay or that all Muslims are anti-gay, when there are gay Muslims that exist. I think this is very powerful for him.
This sounds dangerous. Like
he lives in America
Oh.
now, and even though he lives in America, when
Okay.
he goes back to Pakistan, it's few and far between because he talks about the dangers of gay in Pakistan.
Maybe he shouldn't go back to Pakistan.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because I believe the world needs more people like him, you know. He's very honest. He's very open about who he is. His art, I think, is just amazing. And, you know, he definitely likes to
Hopefully
be
a future
peaceful
atheist.
with the world. What's that?
I said hopefully a future atheist.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But I want to see some of his art. Where is it?
They do give a few things in here. He also is involved in film. And he did like, what is it called? Performance art, where he prays out in public, like anywhere he wants to. Him and a friend did it as a public artist piece. So it's, you know, he does a lot of real stuff in real time.
You know, I want
fascinating.
some of the some people to do a half hijab, half very revealing, sexy outfit. And I think that might get some like do a show with all of that kind of stuff. That might get some reactions.
Yeah.
But then, you know, this is something that leftists would have a hard time both supporting or condemning, because if they're supporting it, you have a lot of offended Muslims. But if you say anything against it, basically you're saying the woman or whoever in the show doesn't have the right to decide what they want to wear. So I'm looking
Right.
forward to
And
somebody
I
doing
think
something. Yeah.
you and I are going to discuss that in a few articles, actually.
Oh, really?
We are.
Okay. That's funny. Okay.
So, yeah. I just, like I said, I thought this was very powerful. I think that, you know, coming from such a strong political background, being like, no, I want to move to the U.S. and be an artist and, you know, just be proud of who I am. I think that's a really interesting piece.
All right, let's go to this Facebook one. This seems interesting. Hello?
Yep.
Oh, let's go to the Facebook
Are we on the Facebook one? Yeah, we're
Oh.
on the Facebook one. Okay.
Okay.
So this one actually mentions Atheist Republic in it.
Oh.
This isn't that cool? So
shit.
what
Are we in
this article
trouble?
is talking about.
Okay.
No, it's all the headache we've gone through with being banned by Facebook.
Okay.
It's a really interesting article because I didn't know that Facebook and YouTube and Twitter were actively combating terrorism. So they actually have counterterrorism tactics that they use to prevent people from using their platforms for quote-unquote evil. So what they do is they talked about there were a lot of different people that were invited to this platform. The major ones were Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. They talked about the algorithms that they use to shut down some terroristic sites or tweets or anything of that nature. They talk about they talk about the different employees they have for stuff. So like Facebook only has 7,500 people that are actively looking at
wow.
things that are reported.
Really?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's what it says here in this article, that they have 7,500 people that are going over because algorithms can't be 100% trusted. So they
right,
have
but
I think
where?
they need a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, they can afford a lot more. I mean, where are these people? I mean, if you're hiring these people in San Francisco, I can understand why that might be too expensive. But maybe you could go hire more people in India or Philippines or something like that. Then you could afford a lot more human eyeballs on these things.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to read the sentence here. It says, despite the benefits of machine learning and automated algorithms, she also stressed the need for human intervention, highlighting the role of 7,500 reviewers who work at Facebook. But then it does go on to say, along with 11 other companies, Facebook also participates in a shared database of hashes, unique digital fingerprints, so that companies can find and remove extremist content as fast as possible. So I don't know. Does that mean that they have 7,500 reviewers who work for Facebook, and then they employ 11 other companies around the world that find and remove extremist content?
Yeah, I hope these other countries are not Islamic countries, because then we are going to be one of those extremist content, right?
Well, exactly. And we have faced that problem numerous times when our Facebook page has been removed, when our Facebook group has been removed. They talk about us down at the bottom.
I mean,
Sorry,
even non-religious people in Islamic countries, sometimes they're a bit biased. I mean, they might see something about Muhammad, and they might be like, okay, I'm not religious, but even I think this is extreme. You know what I mean? Like, because they're influenced by their society a lot, right? So you think it might be a step
right.
too far.
In a lot of societies, that's against the law.
Right.
Like, so they really do think that
No, but
it's serious.
yeah, I mean, even if you don't think it's against, you could like, okay, in my country this is against the law, but this is not against Facebook policy. But I do think it does influence your, if you see something that is anti-Islam but not anti-Muslim, maybe your understanding is that it's anti-Muslim. So it will fall under Facebook community's hate speech, right? Maybe I don't think that level of nuance is explained to every single staff member in other countries. But so
it can't be.
Yeah. But he says the article says, in the past, free thinking pages like the Atheist Republic have faced targeted campaigns by Islamic extremists seeking to shut them down on Facebook, using mass reporting of the pages as hate speech to get them silenced. I just want to point out that just recently another page was taken down. I'm going to try to find it right now and bring some attention. Just give me a second. You guys should go support this guy. It's an ex-Muslim. I think it's ex-Muslim page. Voodoo video. I forgot what his name was. But I'm a fan. I'm just not good with names, but I'm a fan of his videos. But Facebook didn't just suspend the page. They completely removed the page, like permanently removed the page. And this guy does not say anything that could be considered a hate crime. So this is such a big tragedy, and it shows that even though they're acknowledging that this is a problem, I know Facebook is still, I mean, our page gets away with it because every time they take our page down, it makes so much noise in the news that Facebook eventually brings us back. Which is very thankful to our community that does this. But there are some smaller pages that don't have that benefit. And we need to be there for them when there's something like this happens, right? So where is this guy? Oh, okay. So Facebook permanently bans me, so it's called Vidu Vids. Okay? So Vidu, let me just put it on the screen just to make sure people, so it's VEEDU space VIDZ. All right? And these And this guy is really funny, and he goes over Islamic related stuff. So please go. And his page was taken down by Facebook. So yeah, do you see it? Let me just make sure put the whole page here so people see the whole thing. But no, that's not the right one.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Dr. Zakir Naik, and today
this guy is so funny. Okay, and do you see it? Hello, Allie?
I'm here. I'm waiting for it to load.
No worries. Don't watch it. I'm just saying, go check it out.
Yep, it just loaded.
Yeah. But his page was taken. Facebook page was taken down because of a video he made making fun of what's his face. What's that idiot guy's name? Oh my god.
Which one?
There's too many of them.
The Dr. Nazir?
Yes, him.
Whatever.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So he made fun of him. And that's the post that they took him down. They took his entire Facebook page down because of making fun of somebody that deserves making fun of. Nothing that could be considered hate speech. So Facebook's still taking down pages, especially ex-Muslim or Arab atheist pages, because it's not based on hate speech. It's just based on the number of people that go and report it, which is such a shame. And there needs to be more human involvement in this, right? A lot of basically the pages that are being taken down are the pages that need the most, need Facebook the most for getting their voice out. Right, which is such a shame. Somebody needs to bring it. More people need to bring attention to this. In fact, if you want to bring attention to this, just search for the hashtag Let Ex-Muslims Speak, and that hashtag should bring you to a campaign that ex-Muslims of North America started to try to get more people to tell Facebook that they are taking down pages of people that need to be heard. I mean, think about it. You have Arab-speaking atheist pages are taken down for hate speech. This is pages made by Arabs for atheists. It's so sad. But check out that YouTube channel. Go show that guy some love. He puts a lot of efforts in his videos, and he did not deserve this by Facebook. Anyways, sorry. Did you want to add something?
No, that's great.
All right. So the next story.
I am definitely eager to get to this next story, though, because I'm pretty passionate about it. So in the state of Idaho, parents are legally allowed to murder their children.
What?
The way that they get around doing it is saying that it's faith-based healing. You can know that your child is ill. You can choose not to get it any medical treatment whatsoever, and then you can just sit there and pray over its body and murder your child. And get away with it scot-free, because there is a law exemption that allows parents to pray when their children get sick instead of seeking medical attention. So some protesters went to the Capitol to say this is stupid, and they brought coffins. They brought 183 coffins to show 183 children have been murdered.
Empty coffins, right?
Yes, empty coffins.
Okay.
To represent 183 children that have been murdered by their parents since 1970.
Right.
So,
I thought
and the state does nothing. They do nothing. And we say that it's 100. I just want to throw this out there. We say it's 183. That's 183 that could be proven. Idaho has a huge problem with people not even reporting these deaths and refusing to let law enforcement take a hold of the body to do an autopsy, because that is their right in Idaho as well. So who knows how many kids have actually been murdered in this way. It's sick, but of course the politicians don't do anything because of the strong Christian pull in that state. They want their freedom to pray over bodies instead of seeking medical attention.
So if I did this and I wasn't religious, I would go to jail for it, right?
Absolutely, you would. That is child neglect. That is murder. If I sat here,
is it actually more?
Sorry,
I know morally it's murder, but is it actually legally murder if I wasn't religious? legally. You know what I mean? Like if I'm
well, if you weren't religious, why would you be praying over your kid?
No. If I'm not religious and my child could easily be cured, and I just don't take her or him to the doctor. Just like,
yes, that
I
is
just say,
legally called neglect. That is child neglect, and you would
okay.
be sentenced.
Yeah.
You would be sentenced for, maybe second-degree murder or manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter, but you would definitely be charged if your child dies as a result of your neglect.
So all I
if you
have to
weren't
do to
praying
get
over
out
the
of
body-
it, so if I'm responsible for my child dying, all I have to do is to get out of it is to say like, this is like, I believe this toaster is my God, and my toaster spoke to me and told me that don't take your child to the doctor, and then I could get away with it. Like,
I mean, they have an exemption to the law for faith healers. So if you can prove that you're a part of one of the Christian-based organizations there that strive on faith healing, and the faith healers say that no medical intervention is necessary because there is a section in the Bible that spells out that if you seek the Lord, He will provide. So they do not seek medical treatment. They only seek prayer. And if you're a part of that organization, there is an exemption in the law that allows you to murder your child with neglect.
Just remember, the people that say, "Oh, let people believe what they want," what does it do? Religion doesn't harm people. Just remember these coffins next time you say a bullshit thing like that.
Absolutely. It's these children that have no voice. That I guarantee there's actually one child that survived one of these things, and she was severely messed up. Okay, like her parents could have easily gotten medical intervention. She would have been fine. She would have been normal. Instead, she's physically handicapped. She didn't develop very well, and she wanted to sue her parents for their faith healing rather than getting her medical treatment. And I think every single one of those children that is represented by those empty coffins would have said the same thing. You know, they're sitting there dying of diabetes. All they need to do is get to a fucking hospital, and that child would be alive. So if we can be the voices for these children represented by these empty coffins, let's do that. No, blind faith in anything is not good. Faith that praying over somebody is going to heal them when we know medical science is more advanced. This should not be tolerated anywhere. This is murder. This is disgusting. And all those representatives that are completely ignoring these protesters need to be voted out of office.
How is this still a thing? I don't get it. Like, we're so...
Armin, it's legal in 6 states in the United States, but Idaho goes the extra mile, and they're the ones that allow parents to keep the body and not do an autopsy if a police officer comes over. They go the extra mile. So... this is sick.
If this is how far we've gone in one of the most, scientifically advanced countries in the world, what hope is there for the rest of the world, right? Beach Price is saying that this is, he calls faith healing, he calls that faith killing. Mark is saying I shouldn't go with a toaster, should go with a spaghetti strainer. How dare you, you heretic? My toaster would... Anyways, we need to kill faith. Yes, we do. That was by Alex. We're trying. Anyways, do you have any more comments on that one?
No. What?
I think parents could have a hard time, believing these stories more than. You're a parent, right? So it's emotionally. I can see how. How could, like, if somebody looking at their child and thinking, like, how could I just not save my child if they're sick, right? And they see these stories and it's so unbelievable to them, right? I can't imagine it. I can't imagine looking at my child. I have a son that was born with hydrocephalus, so he has a shunt in his head that drains the extra fluid that builds up around his brain out. So it's very important that I look out for signs that he's sick, right? It's very important that I follow up with doctors. I can't, it almost brings me to tears thinking about him sitting here in pain and suffering and me doing absolutely nothing. And that's what I think of all those children that are represented in those coffins there. All those children, they look at their parents.
I think it was William Thatcher that said a mother is God in the eyes of a child. Okay, and that is absolutely true. These children are sitting here looking at their moms. They trust their moms wholeheartedly. When their mom gives them a pill to take and say, "Here, honey, this is going to make you feel better," a child believes without any contradiction in their mind, "My mom is going to do what's best for me." And those children sat there looking at their parents saying, "You're going to do what's best for me," and they didn't.
Oh. Well,
it's fucked up.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Yeah. I also want to mention that, you know, people, if when you see stories like this, you have to understand that beliefs matter. You know, people say, what do you care what people believe in? Just judge, you know, as long as they're not hurting anybody. Beliefs influence actions, right? Even if it's not in the person, right? If you find a peaceful believer, if you find a lot of peaceful believers, you know, they're spreading that belief. And this belief at some point is going to harm somebody. Bullshit ideas will cause harm. And there are too many examples of it for people to say. I mean, if your understanding of the universe is so flawed, of course you're going to come up with conclusions that are going to be not helpful and a lot of times destructive. You know, I don't know. It just seems like we have, as the human race has gotten to a point where we are now we're looking at what happened in our universe, you know, a fraction of a second after its creation, after it started, and we're looking at, you know, mapping the brain, and we're looking at so much things, and I can't believe that while we have gotten so far, so many of us are so stuck in the past that we have so much technology and resources right in front of us, and we just refuse to just use them or accept them or appreciate them because of some ancient mythology. I just can't understand how it lasted so long. I don't know.
I can't either.
Yeah.
I can't.
Anyways, next story.
Next story I thought was really cool. British Islamic conference in 2018, which actually is taking place today. I believe it was yesterday and today, or today and tomorrow. Yeah. No, it's today. The first day was today. So this is the first year that they are having women keynote speakers, right, speaking about Islam in Britain. But they also are allowing pro-LGBT Amani and ex-Muslims to speak. And a spokesperson for the event said ex-Muslims have just as much of a right as anyone else to contribute to the debate on British Islam. So I think that's huge. I think that's amazing that they actually want to. And they said that these people actually, we need to listen to them. We need to understand what the problem is with Islam that made them not believe anymore. So they actually want to really listen to ex-Muslims here and understand what they have to say. I mean, they have over 50 speakers for this event. So I don't know how big of a voice they're going to give ex-Muslims, but I think that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. Maybe they should invite ex-Muslims. Did they invite ex-Muslims?
Yeah, they invited ex-Muslims to speak.
There is an ex-Muslim speaking at this Islamic event?
Yep.
Oh, wow, that's great. Well, good job, guys.
Isn't it, though?
I mean, okay, so there's two ways of looking at this. First of all, you could be like, oh my God, this is great. They're listening to the other side, which actually you deserve. Anybody that listens to the other side deserves credit for doing that, right? So the ex-Muslim part is great, but then the LGBT part, people are like, really, we're congratulating these people for finally joining the civilized world. Like, shouldn't we, instead being what took you so long, instead of congratulating them for doing something that they should have done a long time ago? So there's two ways of looking at it, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? Which one is the right way of looking at it?
I think that, it's 2018, no one should be in the I'm anti-gay group anymore. But hey, someone's trying to do something about it. I think that that's great. I think it's great that they're finally trying to say, okay, we have gay activism in the Muslim community. Let's hear about it. I think that's amazing.
I think you could do both. I think you could congratulate people for progress and also remind them that they should have done this ages ago. Right? You can do both. You can do both of those. You can do both of
You
those.
can do both.
Yeah. But this is great. I mean, I was like, I one time in one of my videos, I said, like, be the first mosque to invite an ex-Muslim, like, show how tolerant you are by inviting ex-Muslims to speak, right?
Yeah.
And actually, the ex-Muslim part also deserves a lot of congratulation, because this is people that are not LGBT. You could say, like, you know what, Islam is tolerant and that bullshit, which is not true. But with ex-Muslims, you're basically inviting people that are against everything you believe in, right? So
Yeah.
you're actually inviting people that are disagreeing with everything that you stand for, right? And that's, I mean, not Muslims, more people should, anybody, I think this is something that doesn't happen enough everywhere. So it's great that they're doing
Absolutely.
that. So this is rare, not just for Muslims. I think this is rare for most peoples, right? Right? Like, I mean, Republicans should invite more Democrats to their events. Democrats should invite more Republicans. I mean, I don't know, but unless situations where you think that something that is so ridiculous shouldn't get equal opportunity. For example, should we now invite climate change deniers into events about climate change? So there's an argument there. So maybe that's not always a good idea. So let me see what other people think, because this is something I'm not sure. I think they're trying to find ex-Muslims to kill them later. No, they're not. Come on. Saying no. Including delusion and intellectual dishonesty, which will stifle debate. Yeah, I know. Islam's okay. Yeah, some people are pointing out that Islam says that you should kill the infidels. But yeah, I mean, yes, Islam does say that, but you have to understand that many Muslims do not understand Islam, thankfully, or don't want to understand Islam, because Islam is worse than most Muslims. Okay, so. People have competing ideologies inside their head, right? Muslims are not just Muslims. Muslims have many different ideas influencing them, right? So if you're a Muslim raising in an environment where humanist values are, advocated, then you have competing ideas in your head fighting each other, and people are sometimes influenced by contradictory values in one individual, and sometimes one of them wins over another. So maybe sometimes you keep your Muslim identity and you try to say that all these humanist values doesn't contradict that, where it does, but you're trying to claim that because you're a better person than those horrible barbaric views. But that doesn't make those barbaric ancient views any less barbaric. That just makes you a better person than the ideas that you claim to be following. So while I'll appreciate the fact that you're a better person than those values, I still am going to call out those ideas as barbaric. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But let me see. Instead of okay, some people are not buying this in the comment section, are skeptical. I mean, well, I'm gonna go. I hope they're recording it. I want to go see how it went. But this should be. I think you're right. People should have a right to be skeptical, but skeptical doesn't mean claiming that it's going to be bullshit, right? Like, be skeptical, but also hopeful, right? And try to, because if you show that you're hopeful, you will encourage more behavior like this, right? So don't
Absolutely.
being skeptical doesn't mean rejecting a claim. Being skeptical means withholding judgment until you see the results. So be skeptical, but don't completely reject it. I mean, let's hope that this is the outcome of this. If let me tell you something. If they're inviting ex-Muslims to their events, that's gonna lead into more people leaving Islam. I don't think these ex-Muslims are gonna become Muslim. I think, don't tell them that, because that's that's gonna discourage them. But these ex-Muslims are gonna go in there and they're gonna make a whole bunch of other Muslims doubt their religion. So this is a good thing. Anyways.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is.
Next.
All right. So this is the article I was telling you about when you brought up feminism and the Muslim community. So this article here is talking about how a lot of women, spokeswomen for Islam, such as Linda Sorcer or whatever.
Yeah.
How they say, Islam is a feminist religion.
Oh, dear God.
But there's a lot of issues within Islamic countries, such as honor killings, right, which isn't necessarily Islam, but it stems into the culture. Anyways, so it talks about different women here in America who have faced honor killings in 2009, 2016. Almost over a year ago, women have been killed by their fathers or by their family for dating a non-Islamic man or non-Muslim man, or for adopting a westernized lifestyle. They dishonored their family and they were murdered. So we see these things in cultures. We actually had a man on our team, Awaz, who was from Pakistan, and he said that in Pakistan, honor killings, it was a serious issue, and he was a huge activist for changing minds on honor killings. He killed himself, unfortunately, 2 years ago, but his work that he did, I felt, was outrageously important in his community, trying to make honor killings a disgusting thing of the past. So, we have the left, we have intersectional feminists now who want to do everything in their power to stand up for empowered Muslim women, and they want to say, yes, Islam is a complete feminist religion, even though they know nothing about Islam. They're just trying to build up Muslim women, right? So this becomes a huge problem. This is a huge problem where we have people defending a religion, where we have women who are out there in Iran right now risking jail, risking their lives so that they can say, no, do not force a hijab on me. And then we have women who are saying, I want to wear hijab because it's so empowering, even though they know nothing about Islam.
Yeah. So the argument that they usually make is that these are not these misogynist or anti-woman laws in Islamic countries. They're not Islamic. They are just the political situation in that country, or it's the misogynist culture in that area, or they point out that there's misogyny everywhere and that Islamic men or the Islamic organizations have been influenced by it. That's the claim that they make, right? But that's bullshit, because the only thing you have to do is pick up the text and just read it. I mean,
That's right.
I mean, you just have to read the fucking text. It's right there, and a lot of people think that the text doesn't influence people's behavior, which we know that's bullshit as well. Because, I mean, the argument is, so here's the thing. They say, like, there's so many Muslims that are not misogynist. There's so many Muslims that are like this. All Muslims are different. And you have more than 1.7 billion Muslims around the world. How could you paint them all with the same brush? And the thing is, yeah, they're all very different from each other, but that doesn't contradict you saying that these texts, these ideology doesn't have an influence on their behavior. It doesn't have influence on everyone's behavior. It has more influence on some people's behavior compared to other people's behavior. Some people are influenced by it more. Some people are influenced by it less. Some people are influenced by it not at all. But it has an influence, and the influence is negative. If you read the text, you could tell that the influence is negative, and you could tell that it's misogynist. I mean, come on, guys. It's a text that tells you that if your wife doesn't listen to you, first you shouldn't listen. You should abandon her. First, you should you should tell her. Then you should abandon her from your bed, and then you should beat her. It doesn't tell you could beat her. It says you should beat her, and then people remind you, well, no, this is for only serious situations, and well, it doesn't say it's only for serious situations. It says only when if you fear disobedient. That's what it says. So you say like interpretation. You're interpreting. I'm just reading the black and white text. It says like, oh, you should beat that.
Armin, you're interpreting it wrong.
No, but all the interpretations that they're making is stuff that they're adding to the text that is, the stuff that they're saying it's not there. The stuff that I'm saying is right there.
Yes,
They say you should beat them lightly.
exactly.
First of all, beating them lightly is still a fucking horrific. Second of all, it doesn't say anywhere that you should beat them lightly. You added the lightly. Right? Where is it say lightly? If he wanted to say lightly, why didn't it just say lightly? And some people say like, oh, it doesn't mean hit your wife. It just means walk towards your wife. And like, first of all,
Then why wouldn't they say walk towards her?
No. People say that verb, the Zaraba root word, could mean walking towards too. But anybody that knows anything about Arabic know that verb in that context could not mean anything other than hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's very obvious, okay? Because I'm not going to go into the explanation. But let's even give them that. Let's give them this verb could mean walk towards to. But from all the verbs that God could have used to say walk towards to, he had to use the one that could have easily been mistaken with hitting. Like, the best you could say about this God is that he sucks at communication. That's the best you could say about him. Because he should have known that this verb is often used as hitting, and he wanted to say walk towards to, but he picked the only other verb that he could have easily been confused with hitting. But that's but that's bullshit. It doesn't mean walking towards to. And if you want to see an explanation of why exactly it means hitting, pick up Ali Rizvi's book, The Atheist Muslim. He explains it very well for why it actually means hitting. Anyways, to say a religion that its main book says that you should hit your wife if you fear, not if she disobeys you, if you just fear disobedience. So even before she disobeys you, that's what it says. If you fear disobedience, then you should hit her. Okay? Not you could hit her, you should hit her. Right? Hit her. So if you say this is a feminist ideology, I have no idea what feminism means anymore. Okay?
I don't either. It's pretty sick. I think that it'd be okay if you wanted to say, if a woman wants to wear a hijab, let her. I on the other hand take a different stance. I don't like symbols of oppression at all, and on a personal level, I have spoken with too many women who felt oppressed by a hijab for me to say, it's empowering in any way. I can't. I don't see why a woman would want to cover her head. I don't understand why this would empower her in any way. And just because I don't understand something doesn't mean that it's not accurate. I mean, maybe some women do feel that way, but I don't know enough about it to make the statement that the hijab is empowering. So that's basically what I'm saying here. And okay. we have women, we have like the Sally Cohn, for instance, who tweets at the real Donald Trump. Many progressive Muslims, the ones who we should support in the ideological fight against extremism, believe in Sharia. So that means that it's a good thing because progressive Muslims believe in it. So it should be good and fine.
Okay. Yeah, the hijab. I mean, anybody that knows the history of Islam, it had different purpose. The head covering had a different purpose, but when Islam came, it was meant to protect your property, which was your woman, against other men. That was what it was for. Okay, It was basically, hey, this is my stuff. This is my wife. My slaves are not that important, so I'm not going to cover them. All right, because I already.
So I have a question for you, then,
Yeah.
Armin. Could you ever see the hijab as empowering?
No, of course not. I mean, it's it's kind of like for me, especially when growing in Iran, when women have to wear it and men don't have to wear it, and it's like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a cloth. And like, oh, okay, you can say that's the same thing about Jews under Nazi Germany. It's just a star. Only Jews have to wear it. Nobody else has to wear it. What's the problem? It's just a fucking star. You're claiming inferiority right there, right? You're claiming that these people are different, that we can the fact that you can tell them what to wear tells you about their position in society. It's not just about that hijab, it's about many other things. You think the women that in Iran that are protesting about hijab are only protesting the hijab? That's the symbol of everything else that is anti-woman in this religion, right? It's a symbol of them not having the same say in the court. Their words is valued as half of a man. Their inheritance is half of a man. There were some girls that were burned in school, died in school from a school burning, elementary school. A whole bunch of girls died. And the government, they made the school pay the parents half of what they would have given them if they were boys being burned alive. This is in Iran, right? The hijab is a symbol of your inferiority. You have the less say in in politics. You have less say in everything. You can't even go watch a sports game in Iran if you're a woman. You're not allowed in stadiums. And that represents, here's what I tell people, right? It's like, let's say, like, I'm talking to you and my wife is right next to me and the three of us are speaking. And then I notice that the dishes are not washed. And we're standing and a little bit tired. And I tell my wife, why didn't you wash the dishes? Go sit in that corner and think about what you just did. Go just sit in that corner. And she listens to me without complaining and just go sit in the corner, right? And you could be like, what the fuck did you just do? I'm like, but somebody could come to my defense. I'm like, what? That's not a big deal. She's just sitting there. I didn't hit her. And in fact, this, a lot of people say, like, why are we complaining about hijab? It's cold in Iran right now. In Tehran, it was snowing. The hijab is actually extra covering. So why are we complaining? So I could say the same thing. We were tired standing anyways. So what's the big deal? She's sitting now. But when you see me being able to tell her to go sit there, what does that say about her position in this family? Right? What does that say about her independence in the relationship that the two of us have with each other? If you get to tell women that you have to put this on your head and you have to wear this and they can't say no to that, what does that say about their position in society? Right? And that's what the hijab represents to me. And in the West, when you have a choice to wear it or not to wear it, you could say wear it by choice, and you could say, to me, this represents that. You go ahead and wear it, and nobody's going to stop you from wearing it. And I'm not going to advocate for anybody stopping you from wearing it. But I'm also going to point out to you that that's fucking bullshit. You're free to wear it. I'm not going to stop you, and nobody should stop you. Nobody should be allowed to stop you. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to remind everybody that what this means, right? And what this represents. You could wear let's say, for example, they arrest a whole bunch of people in the KKK, right? They didn't commit any crimes. They just have really bad ideas, and they arrest them, and because they're of their views. I might say, okay, that's fucking bullshit. Okay, these people have very bad views, and they're horrible people for having these views. But you can't just arrest people without committing any crimes, right? That they haven't committed any crimes. You can't just do that just because of their opinions. I can go and defend their rights not to be arrested without committing any crimes, without actually putting a KKK costume on. I don't have to put hijab on to defend women's right to wear the hijab, because I know what this hijab represents. I don't have to celebrate that. So I could also not wear the KKK costume to defend people's right not to be arrested for their shitty opinions. Does that make sense? Are you there? Did I just lose Allie? Let me just see. I'm going to call her back. Hold on, guys. Oh, okay. Let me call her. I lost her. Hold on. I was thinking, why she's not calling her back? Can't imagine panicking. There we go. Hello? Ali? Hello?
Armin.
Oh, okay. Hey.
I'm here.
I lost you. You missed out my rant, my very passionate rant.
It. So thankfully I did get a chance to catch all that. And yeah, I mean, like, I definitely wouldn't fight for somebody to, have the right to take away someone's right to wear the hijab, but I certainly can't myself advocate for it being empowering. That's just not something I can do. And if anyone out there would like to talk to me after this and try to give me a reason why a feminist would need to fight for the hijab as an empowering statement for a woman, go ahead. Reach out to me on Facebook or Twitter and let me know what you think about that.
Right. Okay, so last story.
Last story is again about the hijab.
Again.
So Macy's decision to sell hijab sparks a debate amongst Muslim women, and I thought this was really just a fantastic debate because it has Macy, and I cannot pronounce her last name and do it justice, but she is an amazing woman who is from Iran, and she, removed the headscarf and fights, for the women in Iran. She's on their side for getting the hijab removed as a compulsory thing. So her and Linda Sorsor discuss Macy's selling the hijab and discuss what the hijab means to them.
Oh, yeah. And, actually, this is a CNN article.
Yeah.
And they featured my tweet in there.
They did.
Yeah. This is the first time my tweet was featured in a CNN article, which is nice. But, I mean, this lady, Macy Ali Najad, Macy means Jesus in Persian, which is kind of... Anyways, but, yeah, she's great.
Oh,
but
wow.
she's not in... she's not in Iran, though. She's in LA.
But she stands with the women.
Yes,
in Iran.
No, she's one of the main.
Yeah.
She's one of the main advocates for women in Iran, and a lot of women in Iran know her, and they send their pictures of. They have the White Wednesdays campaign where women take off their hijab, and they send it to her, right? So she's one of the main. So what happened between them?
She's amazing. So they had a debate about.
Oh, wow.
About this, yeah, and so it's all listed out here. I hope that everyone takes time to read it because she brings up some very great points. How she feels about Macy's and Nike and Dolce & Gabbana and H&M choosing to sell the hijab. She says that on one hand, it makes her happy because they're supporting her mother who wears the hijab. But on the other hand, it reminds her of the women in Iran that are being ignored by the government. That the small piece of cloth is a visual of
But this is not the
oppression.
government. This is Macy's.
Yeah, but I mean, but what she's saying is she's happy that Macy's is selling the hijab, for women like her mother, but she's sad that a major brand is standing behind the hijab because of the oppression that it actually symbolizes for many women. Right.
I mean, it's weird. I mean, if your dad was part of the KKK and Macy's started selling the KKK costume, would you be happy that Macy's is selling something?
I'm happy for my dad. But on the other hand, no,
I
I
acknowledge the history of KKK, but at least I'm happy for my dad. I don't know.
I don't know.
Um,
I can see that being cognitive dissonance, if you will. On one hand, you're happy that somebody is supporting your mother,
yeah, I mean, it's your mom,
even though
right?
you
So,
think that the hijab is a symbol of oppression, which I agree with.
yeah, I don't blame. These are companies. They're not there to make. They're there to make money, right? So they basically did a cost benefit analysis. They're like, okay, there's enough demand for this. Would we get too much backlash? Probably not. In fact, some of the backlash might be good free marketing for us.
Actually, in America, that will fuck up a company, and you can look at Target for that. When Target came forward saying that they were going to allow transgender people into whichever bathroom they associate with, that caused such a big backlash, Target, that they actually had to close down stores, and they're remodeling bathrooms in their regular stores to just be unistalls and not full bathrooms. So it caused people's protest against that caused a big backlash. And I am actually, curious about what people are going to do here in America, because there are a lot of people, especially down here in the South, who see, oh, they're selling the hijab, I'm not going to support them anymore. And, they really cause big stirs online. So I'm curious if Macy's actually will get a huge backlash from this. I didn't think that, especially with...
You know what they should do? They should just confuse the hell out of people. They should be like, we're going to sell the hijab and the Confederate flag, and our washrooms are unisex. Our washrooms are also unisex now. So people are like, I don't know what to do now. I don't know if I'll be angry.
That definitely would cause some confusion. Maybe they should start selling some guns as well. I don't know, but I think there's nothing wrong in and of itself to have a modest line of clothing. Some women do, Muslim or not, some women like to dress modestly, and I think that that's fine. Whatever, if they want to sell hijab, that's fine. I don't personally have a problem with it. I still go to Macy's. That's where I buy my makeup,
do they also sell
my
Mormon
perfume,
underwear?
my clothes. Do they what?
Mormon underwear.
No, they should.
Yeah, I mean, why are we having hijab but not Mormon underwears?
That's a very good question. I think that is worth looking into, maybe with a...
Maybe actually no. I mean, you shouldn't. Maybe that market size is bigger. Maybe Mormons don't get their underwears from Macy's. I don't know, but I'm just saying you can't. I mean, I understand these are a corporation. They need to make money. They see a market. They go after it, right? That's what corporations do.
And why can you fault a company for doing that? I mean, that's literally.
I mean, you can. You can. I mean, you can. You could be like, well, okay, well, I'm gonna make sure that this is enough of a PR nightmare for you, so for you to for it to affect your bottom line, right? And
I just think that's unfair. I really do, because like you said, they're a company. Their goal is to get more money.
Yeah.
This will get them more money.
Yeah, but then you could make it so that it doesn't make them more money, right?
You can, yeah.
I mean, you can, yeah. I mean, you understand, yeah. I understand how people could be like, yeah, I understand how a corporation works. They only care about money. I mean, that's what the corporation is designed to do, to make money, and we could make it so that this will make them less money. Like, for example, if you could be like, oh, my corporation is now this corporation is supporting gay rights now, and I like that this corporation is doing that, so I'm going to make sure that they're going to make more money, so you could actually influence corporations' behavior if you get enough people behind it, right? So
yeah, you sure can.
Yeah, but
I just don't know. I guess I'm not offended. How about that?
But let's see what people think. Western Muslim privilege, why their sisters in Iran fight to be free of the same shackle. Yeah, I mean, maybe they should. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I understand why they're doing this, but also these people should make this point. One thing I didn't like was I think Linda Sarsour made the point. Correct me if somebody else made this point, but I think it was her on Twitter made the point that, or somewhere else, that women in Iran are discriminated for taking off their hijab, and women in the West are discriminated for wearing the hijab. And I'm like, no, that's not the same. Show me how many women in the United States have been arrested for wearing the hijab.
Wearing the hijab.
Show me how many of them are like right. Actually, yesterday I got news from some girls are actually now in prison in Iran are being beaten up by the guards. Some of these girls, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's not, I mean, when the government starts arresting girls with hijab in the United States, then you might. The comparison that you could make is to Iran itself, and just during Reza Shah's time, because in Iran the hijab used to be illegal. Hijab in public used to be illegal. Within one generation, it went from being illegal to being mandatory, which shows how fast things could change, right? So just before the Islamic Revolution, before Reza Shah, the first Pahlavi king, he wanted to make Iran very Western. He didn't like Islam, and he made hijab illegal. So it's very interesting because there are people that were alive both in an Iran during that hijab was illegal, and in an Iran that hijab was mandatory, which is so weird at how fast a country could change, right? I mean, and these are the only, and Iran actually is the only, I think Iran is the only country in modern times where hijab was illegal in it, and it was also the only country in modern times where hijab is now mandatory in it. Because even in Saudi Arabia, the hijab is not mandatory in all public places for non-Muslims.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if you're not a Muslim, there are places in Saudi Arabia that you don't have to put the hijab on. In Iran, the hijab is mandatory for everybody. Everybody.
Wow, I didn't
Every
know
woman,
that.
I mean. Not everybody, of course. But so I think the only other place that it was mandatory for everyone, I'm not sure, but I think Afghanistan under Taliban also it was like that. But right now it's only Iran. Anyways. So that was our last news. Let me see if people left any comments. I think my video was a little bit laggy today. I tried to close as many things as possible. I don't know what I think I need a better laptop. But the audio was good. The audio, I think we have managed the audio right. Still can't get the Facebook chat stream showing up here on the live stream. Allie, you're still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
So we'll figure it out at some point, but that's okay. So audio is good. Both of our audios are all around the same level. A couple of episodes before, they told us that I was too quiet. But we need to figure out. I mean, nobody cares if I'm laggy or not. Do people care if I'm laggy? My video, as long as my audio is fine, I think it should be okay. But yeah, guys, can you please comment? Give us new suggestions to cover next time. Your comments really do help. Okay. And subscribe if you're not subscribed. Our YouTube channel, our Facebook page is big. Our Instagram page is big. Our Twitter is okay, but our YouTube really needs more subscribers. So if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, that really helps. Some people are asking questions. Do you think Islamists and Muslims have? Ask that in the comment section for this. Once the live video is out. Once the video is not live anymore, put it in the comment section, and we'll try to cover it in another video. Any closing remarks, Sally?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out there that if anyone disagreed or had another opinion on anything that Armin and I spoke about today, please reach out to us at our message board at Facebook or anywhere else. That's always really helpful to get the feedback. from you guys. So we
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Feedback in the don't reach us. Feedback in the comment section, because we need these videos to get more. The comments really help our videos. So if you have feedback, leave it in the comment section of the YouTube video, not Facebook. We're already the biggest atheist page on Facebook. But our YouTube needs help. Anyways, thank you guys, Beach. Thank you, Beach is always here. Some other people are always here too, but Beach is great. He always gives us good feedback. He says this is better this week. Thank you, Beach.
Thank you.
And thank you, Alex. Thank you, Fireholder. And people in the Facebook chat. Philip, Connor, John, Mahena. Everybody there, thank you so much as well. Again, I don't know how to end this. Always, I don't have a